Thierry Paulin was a boy who never felt like he belonged anywhere. Maybe it was because he was abandoned by his parents at birth, as his grandmother had to raise him. When he turned 10, he moved back to live with his mother, but she was already married and he didn't fit in with her new family. After this, he moved to France to live with his father. When Paulin turned 17, he became a paratrooper. His colleagues didn't accept him well because of his homosexuality and the fact that he was mixed. That slowly hardened him and inspired him to seek revenge on society. And along with his partner Jean Thierry Mathurin, they went on a killing spree in Paris. Welcome to History's Biggest Villains. Thierry Paulin was born November 28, 1963 in Fort-de-France, Martinique. His father flew to metropolitan France just after his birth, leaving his teenage mother to fend for herself. Paulin was raised in Martinique with his paternal grandmother, who owned a restaurant and allegedly paid little attention to her grandson. When he was 10, Paulin started to live with his now remarried mother, trying to blend in with his new sibling. His behavior became erratic and violent towards the other children, and eventually his mother asked his father to take their son. His father accepted in order to avoid paying alimony. As a mixed-race kid amongst white peers, Paulin had very few friends, performing poorly in school and failing his exams. At the age of 17, he decided to enter military service early, joining the parachutist troops. However, his fellow soldiers ridiculed him for his race and his homosexuality. In the 1980s, there were about 250,000 women over the age of 65 who lived alone in Paris. Partly because of their weakness and partly because they resembled his own grandmother, these unsuspecting women became Paulin's target. On November 14, 1982, he robbed an old woman at a grocery store, threatening her with a knife. However, the woman knew who he was and he was soon arrested. In June 1983, he was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but the sentence was suspended, allowing him to remain free. After leaving the army in 1984, he met his lover, Jean Thierry Mathurin from French Guiana. Mathurin was a drug addict and a dealer, and Paulin soon became one himself. Also around this time, Paulin became a waiter at the Paredes Latin, a nightclub renowned for its drag shows. There, he started a career as an artist, dressed in drag and singing tunes by his favorite singer, Eartha Kitt. His mother was once invited to watch her son's performance, but she left the club a few seconds after he started the act. On October 5th, 1984, 2 elderly women were assaulted in Paris. Germaine Patois, who was 91, survived but was too traumatized to give a detailed description of the criminals. Anna Barbier-Ponthus, who was 83, died after being beaten and smothered with a pillow. Her killer robbed her of 300 francs. In October to November 1984, 8 other old women were murdered, mainly in the 18th arrondissement of Paris, but in neighboring areas too. The violence of these crimes was notable. Some of the victims had their heads stuck into plastic bags, some were beaten to death, and one of them was even forced to drink drain cleaner. In all cases, the motive appeared to be robbery. Some reports allege that Paulin singled out women who seemed unpleasant or unfriendly when he engaged them in conversation, while Paulin himself told police, "I only attacked the weakest of them." While they were robbing and killing old women, Paulin and Mathurin led an extravagant lifestyle, spending their nights dancing, drinking, and snorting cocaine. In late November, they decided to go to Toulouse to spend a few months with Paulin's father, but he was unable to get along with his son's lover, and violent fights ensued, ending when Paulin and Mathurin broke up. Mathurin returned to Paris, while Paulin tried to start his own firm of transvestite artists, a plan which failed in the fall of 1985. From December 20th to June 14th, 1986, 8 more old women were murdered. The police were unable to identify the killer, though the investigators had a few clues. Police determined through fingerprint evidence that the perpetrator was the same individual who committed the 1984 murders. However, in the new murders, the killer appeared to favor quicker, less cruel methods. In the fall of 1986, Paulin attacked one of his cocaine dealers with a baseball bat. The dealer went to the police and Paulin was arrested. He was sentenced to 16 months in jail for the assault. While he was in prison, Paulin discovered that he was HIV positive. During the 1980s, the HIV/AIDS epidemic was fairly new to the world, so a diagnosis during this time would mean certain death. But this somehow inspired Paulin to commit even more violence. Knowing that he would eventually die from AIDS, Paulin organized lavish parties, spending a lot of money and sparing no expense. Paulin paid for these parties with stolen credit cards and checks, and with the proceeds from his murders. On November 25th, 1987, Paulin murdered Rachel Cohen, who was 79. On the same day, he attacked an 87-year-old woman, Berthe Finoteri, who he suffocated and left for dead. 2 days later, he strangled Genevieve Germont, who would be his last victim. As Paulin celebrated his 24th birthday, Finoteri unexpectedly recovered and was able to give an accurate description of her attacker, stating that he was a mixed-race man in his 20s with blonde hair like Carl Lewis and an earring in his left ear. On December 1st, Paulin was arrested while walking down the street when a local police inspector recognized him from Finoteri's description. After 2 days in custody, Paulin admitted everything, including his involvement with Mathurin. Accused of committing 18 murders, though he claimed responsibility for 21, he was sent to jail awaiting trial. In early 1988, Paulin fell ill as his body began to succumb to the effects of AIDS. Within a year, he was hospitalized in a state of near paralysis, suffering from both tuberculosis and meningitis. He died on April 16, 1989 in the hospital wing of Fresnes Prison. He was only 25 years old. Only Mathurin was tried for the first 9 attacks and murders, receiving a life sentence plus 18 years without parole, but he was released in 2012. He was incarcerated until January 2009, while technically Thierry Paulin was never convicted for the murders of which he was accused. That's the story of Thierry Paulin. Like, the whole story just intrigues me because they committed 8 murders. Him and his partner committed 8 murders together. Really 9. But then they broke up, and then Thierry killed 12 more women on his own. And the thing is, all of these were in the purpose, like the purpose was to get money, but just the methods of which they did was just so crazy. Like, I don't know, this story always intrigued me. The fact that he only lived to 25 was like he did all that in the span of a few years. Like, I don't know, but I hope you enjoyed this story. If you did, leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Also, don't forget to turn on my post notifications. But thank you so much. I really appreciate all the support you guys are giving this channel. Leave a like, hit that subscribe button. Give me some suggestions for new stories. But without further ado, be safe. Have a great day. Stay on the grind. I'm out. Peace.